Hello everyone. In this Revit tutorial we're going to learn how to draft simple plans. Since the last tutorial was about AutoCAD, let's open up a simple plan there. And as you can see, this plan here only has walls, windows, and doors. So it's pretty simple. So we're going to export this file onto Revit. So the first thing we're going to do is open up Revit and go on the left here under Models. We're going to click New, and then we're going to browse for a new template file. If we click here and go to templates, for older versions, you're going to find Imperial and Metric. But since I am using the 2022 version, I have these multiple files. So I'm going to choose the English folder here, and then click on Default Metric. This will allow us to design a project within metric units. So once we click OK, it's going to take us to this new window where we can start designing. And on the top part here, we can see a few tabs which we will be using later on, such as the Architecture tab, the Insert, View, Annotate, and Modify. Before we jump right into designing, we need to equip a few things first. To show the Properties window so we can know what kind of wall we're installing, we can do so by pressing P twice. That shows us the Property window on the left. And then we go to the View tab, and on the far right we click on User Interface and we tick Project Browser. The benefits of Project Browser is that it shows you which levels you are working on in case of designing a multi-level structure. As we can see here, the level 1 is in bold, so that's the level we are designing on. And finally, we're going to open the Units window by pressing UN. We can see that the length here is recorded in millimeters, so we're going to click on it and change it from millimeters to meters. And to have a little precision in our design, we can have it read up to 1 decimal place. Now we are ready to export our plan from CAD. To do that, we go to the Insert tab and click on Import CAD. Now we need to go to where our CAD file is located and click on the WD file. And this shows us a little preview on the right here, so we're going to go ahead and click Open. And now we have our CAD plan right on Revit. It's exactly identical, with the same walls, doors, and windows. Now if we click on it, we can see that there's a pin here that keeps the picture in place. And if we try to move it using the Move option, we won't be able to move it because it's identified as a pinned element. But if we click on it again and unpin it, and now we start to move it around, we can. However, let's keep it pinned so it doesn't move around while we are designing. So on the top part here, we're going to see a measuring tool which we will use to measure the thickness of our walls. So for the exterior one, we have a 0.2 meters in thickness. But for the interior walls, it's half of that, which is 0.1. So under Architecture tab, we're going to click on Wall, and the first thing we're going to see is a basic wall of 200 millimeters in thickness. So once we see the crosshair here for our cursor, we can start designing or placing the wall onto the plan. So we're going to trace it even on top of the doors and on top of the windows, which I will explain later. So let's assume that we accidentally continued the wall and forgot to include this small portion of wall right here. One way to solve this issue, we can trace this part here with a wall, but it would still be disconnected from the bottom one. In order to connect it, we can go to the Modify tab and select the Split option, or simply press SL on your keyboard to use it as a shortcut. This tool allows us to split the wall into several parts and adjust it. One way to connect the walls now is we can drag the wall by clicking on the blue circle on its edge to the corner of the plan and connect the diagonal wall with it, as such. Another way to connect it is by using the Trim feature. It can be activated by pressing TR. This helps connect two walls without any need for dragging them back and forth. Okay, moving on to the interior walls, we go to the Architecture tab and click on the Wall option. And if we click on the wall here, we're going to see different thicknesses of walls, such as 300, 225, 200, and other several types of walls. However, we need a wall that is 100 millimeters in thickness. So we're going to exit the window and we're going to click on Edit Type, and we're going to duplicate in order not to override the existing 200 millimeter wall. So we're going to rename our new wall with its new thickness, and at this point we only changed the name and not the actual thickness. So under construction, we're going to click on edit, and we're going to change the thickness from 0.2 to our own thickness, which is 0.1. Now, after we click on OK, we can see that there's a new wall type on the left with a new thickness of 0.1, and that is our created wall. Now we can draw our interior walls the same way we drew our exterior ones. Let's say that we mistakenly placed a wall here and not on the CAD plan, and we want to move it to the right. And we can do that by either dragging it by using the left click on the mouse or using the Align feature. So we go to the Modify tab and click on the Align here. And first thing we need to do is choose our destination plane. And then choose the same side of the wall to move it to that destined plane. And as you can see that the wall has now moved to the exact same plane as the one on the CAD file. And we can do the same thing for the edge here, and we have the line now exactly as we want on the CAD plan. Moving on to this part here, we do the exact same process. We click on the Architecture tab, we click on the Wall option, and we need to make sure that it's the same thickness. So once we know that, we're going to start drawing a continuous wall and trace this part here as well. And we're going to do the same thing for this wall. It doesn't really matter where you start or where you end, as long as the same wall is going to be produced. So now once we are done with the walls, we can move on to the next option, which are doors. And if we click on the door image here, we can see different widths of the doors. And once we place them here on the walls, we can see that the preview is inverted. We can flip it by pressing spacebar on our keyboard, and then left clicking to place the door on the wall. The side of the door depends on where your cursor is pointed at. So if we want to have the door pointing down, we move the cursor down. Now we are done with doors, so let's place a few windows on our plan. In the same Architecture tab, we click on Windows and we can see the different types of windows here. So let's place a small window in the bathroom, and let's have a variation of larger windows around our plan. A little note about doors and windows is that you cannot place them if there are no walls to hold them. That's why we drew over them even on the CAD plan. Once that's done, we can click on the Architecture tab and Component to add furniture. And the first thing we see is a desk which we can place in our office room using left click. Now we need a chair for it, but not all types of furniture are loaded, so we need to do that ourselves. We can click on Edit Type, and then on Load on the top right corner of our pop-up window. For older versions, if we click here and choose Libraries, we can see Metric and Imperial libraries. However, it's different for me since I'm running the 2022 version. So once you click on Metric Library, you will find various types of folders. So we're going to go ahead and click on the Furniture folder, and as we can see, we have beds, seating, storage, and tables. So we're going to click on Seating for our chairs, and we can choose whichever chair we want. We can see a preview window on the right. I might prefer to have this chair, and once we see that the name has changed on the top, we can press OK. Now we can see our chair, that it's flipped. To rotate it, we can just press the spacebar twice, and there you go. We place it by using left click, and to stop placing chairs, we can just press Escape. And now to add a shelving unit, we're going to click on Annotate, and right underneath it, we're going to click on Detail Line. Now we can see that we can draw a line just like in AutoCAD. So we're going to draw it from this corner, and there we have a shelf that can be represented on 2D drawings. Moving on to the bathroom, we need to add the components since it's much easier than drawing them from scratch. So we go to Architecture, Component, Edit Type, and Load. And we need to go back a few folders so we can find the plumbing folder here. We go click on Architectural and Fixtures, and then we can see the water closets right on the bottom. So we can choose any type of water closet we might need. I like to choose this one, so we're going to click on OK, and as we have the water closet, and we can flip it using the space bar. So now we need to add a bathtub, so we do the same process. We go a few folders back, and we can find bathtubs here. So we can choose whichever bathtub we want. I like to have it freestanding, so we can have it like here. And finally, we need to add a sink. So we do the same process again. We can find sinks here, and we can choose whichever sink we would like. Let's choose a singular one and just use spacebar to rotate it to the preferred direction. Now to add a washing machine, we can go to Annotate, Detail Line, and just draw a line here to represent that this is a washing machine. Now that we are done with the bathroom, let's move on and load some bedroom furnitures. So we can do that by the exact same process, and we go back a few folders, and then we click on the furniture and beds. So let's say that we want to add the bed box right here, but at first glance it appears to be a twin-sized bed. But if we click on the bed image here, we can see different sizes from twin, double, and queen. So let's pick the biggest one and rotate it by pressing spacebar twice, and then click escape to stop placing beds. And now to add a closet right here, we do the exact same thing as we did for the washing machine. So let's say that we want to add a TV in our bedroom. So we do the exact same process, and we go back one file, so we're in the furniture folder, and we go to storage and choose this credenza to have as our TV stand. So we place it directly aligned to our bed, and we do the same thing again to add the TV now. In the furniture folder, we can see the flat screen here, and we're going to click on OK, and we're going to place it here. But before we place it on top of the credenza, we're going to click on it to see the properties, and for the height, we notice that it's 0.734 meters from the ground. So we're going to go ahead and copy that number, and we're going to click on the TV. We're going to see that the elevation from the ground is 0, so we're going to paste that number so it appears to be on top of the credenza. So now we're going to select it, and we're going to press Ctrl C to copy it and paste it in our living room. So now we can rotate it by using this rotating feature under Modify tab, and we can drag it to be stuck onto the wall. Now to add a few couches, we can do the same process by going to Components and loading the furniture. And under this folder, we see the seatings. So we can choose this Corbu couch, and we can click OK. Now let's place a few of them by not clicking escape and clicking left click multiple times, and of course pressing the spacebar to rotate it. So let's say that we want to have this facing the TV, so we're going to use the rotate feature under Modify tab, and we're just going to rotate it as such. So now let's add a dining table as well. So we do the same thing, and under the furniture folder, we can see that we have the tables file right here. So we're going to click on that, and we have the dining table with chairs option, as we can see here. So the first table here we have is a bit too small. So let's see the different sizes that we have. This one here is a bit too big, so let's choose the one in the middle, and that is a perfect size for this spacing. And finally, now for the kitchen, we can just add a sink like we did in the bathroom. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the plumbing file. We're going to click on architectural, fixtures, and as we can see, we have sinks. So let's choose this one here. It's a double sink, so this is suitable for a kitchen. So we're going to click spacebar to rotate it. And for the countertop, we can have it as some lines like we did before with the washing machine and other closets. And we can divide it to show some appliances such as the fridge, the stove, or just as a regular countertop. So let's assume that we want to have our stove in this place here. A stove can be represented by a square with a few circles on top of it. So to draw circles, we just go to detail lines and just choose the circle option in the top right corner. And let's say that one of the circles isn't aligned properly, so we can just move it or shift it using the arrow keys. And lastly, for the walls, it's best to avoid having them being completely white. So to change that, we go to the properties window, and for visibility and graphics, we click on edit, or you can press V twice to access the same window using a shortcut. So we scroll down all the way to find walls, and under cut and patterns, we click on override. And for the pattern here, we click on the arrow and choose solid fill, and for the color, we're going to choose it to be black. And after we click OK, we're going to notice that the color of the walls have turned black. And now to print out your work, right click on sheets right here and click on new sheet, and then we're going to click on load, and we're going to see in our metric template, we're just going to go down to title blocks and choose whichever size of paper we want. Let's say that we want to choose the A3 paper, and left click to place it. And once we press OK, it's going to take us directly to the sheet view, and to include our plan, we just drag it from level 1 and place it on the sheet. If we double click on the plan, we can see that there are scale readings here. This scale here is suitable, so we're not going to change it. To save it as a PDF, press Ctrl P and check that this is Microsoft Print to PDF. And now you're going to click on Setup and make sure that you toggled Zoom on 100%, and in size here you choose A3. You're going to click OK and then Preview to see how your PDF looks like before saving it. Now press Ctrl P again And once you click OK, you're going to choose where you want to save your PDF and give it whatever name you like. Let's name this Plan PDF. And that concludes the Revit tutorial.